Good morning, everyone. Gary Anaka here this morning, and welcome to Brain Wellness, a Seekfish for Longevity. I'm hoping you're going to enjoy these workshops as much as I do. Workshop number 1 is going to be called Brain Geography. So I would like to share with you this, that perhaps neuroscience is the most explosive, exciting science in the world today. We've learned more about our brains in the last 10 years than we have in the last 100 years. There's over 255 brain journals right now that publish work on the brain virtually every day, and 37,000 scientists working in over 60 countries are putting out these studies. So it's very, very exciting. And I want you to know that when I started way back in the 90s, this information was not available to you and me and the general public, because these neuroscientists basically did research that was held within their universities and for their grants, etc. So the general public didn't get any of this information. So my work has been to get that information and put it out to you. So I want you to know that change has been radical in the last few years, because have you ever noticed in the news, here's Time Magazine, how to improve your memory. Here's the Scientific American, a whole issue developed and presented for building a better brain. Time Magazine, Alzheimer's. We're going to look at that this morning and see exactly what that is. And here's another one, Maclean's, Canadian Magazine, Eureka, a cure for mental decline. The new science of brain fitness helps you get smarter as you get older. Repeat, smarter as you get older, seniors. So I'd like to begin with this question. Can you consider this for just a moment? What's the most valuable thing you own? Folks, I do a lot of workshops. Just recently, I did a workshop for kindergarten children, and I asked them this question, and what did the little kids say? Oh, they say things like my gerbil, or my dog, or my baby brother. And of course, when I'm doing lots and lots of senior workshops, invariably, it's always the same answer, cell phone. Now, when I do adult workshops, you get a lot of different answers, my house, my property, my ski-doo, my RSPs, and I'm saying to the folks, you know what? Don't worry about your RSPs. You won't remember where you put them unless your brain is working. So folks, over the years, we have thousands and thousands of years of human history, all written down, 7,000 years. And what have we learned about the brain during all that time? Absolutely nothing. It's been guesswork. And in today's world, we now have these wonderful cameras and imaging techniques that show us our brains. So here we go. I would like to begin with these myths. There are lots of myths that are falling fast, and here are my favorite 5. 1, all the way back in the 1980s, you were led to understand by these researchers that you were born with a hardwired black box, which means the brain you were born with is going to be the brain you have for your whole life. No changes. Not true. Next one, you only use 10% of your brain. I'm sure many of you have heard this. And of course, there's no science to it whatsoever. It's not true. The truth is you use all of your brain all of the time. The next one, nothing can be done. Well, after you finish this little series of workshops here in Lloydminster, you're definitely going to know lots of things can be done to make your brain better. You can't grow new brain cells, of course, is a bit of a myth as well. In fact, in the next 5 minutes, if you folks are ready, we're going to grow brand new brain cells in your brain on the spot, right this morning while you're watching this video, okay? And the last great myth is the brain can't change, and the reality is, yes, it can. So what I'd like you to do then, please, is I want you to take your pens and pencils and understand these 2 words. The first one is called neurogenesis. The word neuro means neuron, and the word genesis means rebirth. So that means you can grow new brain cells. Wow, that's good news. And the second is, I'm sure you've heard this in the news a lot, your brain is plastic. It's not the plastic we know that makes commercial things. It's the ability for your brain to change, because folks, the reality is your brain is not the same as it was yesterday or last year or years ago. It is not the same brain. It changes constantly. So this is what I'd like you to understand. I hope you can see my hands here in the screen. I have 2 little fingers sticking up here, and these would represent a part of your brain that's called the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is just inside your ears in the middle of your brain, and it's a little hook thing, 2 of them. They fit right in here, and they are responsible for memory and learning, which is, of course, absolutely essential for us to survive as a human being. So this is what we're going to do. I want you to put your fingers here like this, and I want you to say after me. I know some of you are skipping out, so follow me. I'm the teacher. My hippocampus is here. This is where I make memories. Hippos live here. I have 2 of them. I need my memory. Thank you for participating. And realize that these hippocampi are super, super important, okay? Because what we need to do now is grow some new cells in the hippocampus right now. So folks, as a brain coach, I own a lot of brain scans. I have stacks of them. I have libraries of them. And the one you're going to see in just a moment is the best one I own of all, because it will change your life. Absolutely. So this is what we're going to do. You're all seated probably, or standing is just as good. I want you to just start shuffling your feet as though you were walking along on a path. Just shuffle your feet, tap, 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 tap. Perhaps you even hear me tapping. Yes, I can hear some of you in Lloydminster for sure, you're tapping. I want you to go up a hill, so we're taking bigger steps, a little slower. Tap, 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 tap. Now we're going down the hill. Tap, 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 tap. Wow, I'm sure some of you are thinking, where did they find this guy? What is he talking about? Well, we're talking about your brain. So let me show you this slide. It says at the top, evidence of exercise-induced changes in the brain called neurogenesis. Now, this is a man who's 37. On the left-hand side is a picture of his hippocampus, the green scan showing him when he's not doing anything. He's just sitting. Then he got up and he did a little 2-minute exercise, which you just did. That is moving your feet, just like that. And you can see that there are lots of red and yellow dots. The brand new neurons in the hippocampus are labeled red and yellow. So folks, what does this mean? It means that when you move, you literally grow new cells. Now, isn't that wonderful news? Absolutely wonderful news. Fantastic. And for what age? Well, how long can you grow neurogenesis? I've seen research up into your 90s and plus, you can grow new brain cells. But there's a catch. And the catch is, I can very fondly remember this neuroscientist telling us, these brand new brain cells only last for a couple days. That's why you have to move every day to keep them alive. Okay, so you know what? That means there's a lot of hope for the future. Your human brain is dynamic. It's not fixed at all. So also, what happens when you move? You produce this wonderful, wonderful hormone called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It exists in your brain. You don't have to take any supplements or anything. It's in there. And brain-deprived neurotrophic, just call it BDNF, right? There we go. It's your brain's growth hormone. It keeps your brain alive. It keeps your neurons alive in the hippocampus where you make memory. This is super, super important, okay? Renews your hippocampus, keeps it young. How come? When you're born, your hippocampus is just a little guy like this, right? Like my thin little fingers that are representing your hippocampus. And you go through early life and then teenagers and then an adult stage. And by age 25 to 30, the brain is fully mature and your hippocampus should look like this. See how big and well-developed these hippocampus are, okay? That's what you want to the last day of your life. Unfortunately, after 30, these guys begin to shrink unless you treat them well, and then you lose your memory, you lose your hippocampus as you get older, and that's called cognitive decline, resulting in dementia. We don't want that. We want you to have hippocampus that are like this, okay? That's the goal, BDNF. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you so that you get this right, okay? It promotes neurons. It protects neurons. Neurons are the name of the brain cells that you have. It clears away the bad plaque and all the wastes that are accumulated during each day. And I want to share with you that not only will exercise give you BDNF, there are some food sources as well. And here they are. Green tea. I am a great aficionado of green tea. I promote it in every single workshop I do. And of course, blueberries and purple grapes. Those three right there Lots of research to tell us that you can get BDNF, the growth hormone that you need in your brain to stay young. So here's a picture of it so you can see what I've been talking about. Neurogenesis occurs in 3 known areas of the brain, each with a role in learning and memory. So I want you to focus on the right-hand side. There's a red arrow there pointing at the hippocampus, and you can see it's a turquoise blue, and it's curved, exactly the same shape and size as your thumb. That's your hippocampus. Okay, so what's our first top tip in our series here today? You've got to decide, folks, are you passively living or are you actively living? You have to decide that. So to make it very clear, here's the cartoon. Here's the doctor and the patient. What fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? So there's your choice, folks. Movement and this time of life as an adult and as a senior, sedentary lifestyle is out. You cannot be sedentary. It just doesn't work for your brain. You must move every single day. And you have to get your runners on when the weather is good and get out and walk. Walking is the best exercise that you can do. You need to walk briskly like you're trying to catch the bus. I know we're all locked in these days, so please try to get out in hallways. And if there are stairs, use your stairs. If you're able to, just get the brain and body moving. Okay, so to complete this little section here, moving up and around keeps the brain and body sound. I'd like to add one small thing with it. It's very important that you have good balance. So here's an experiment that you could try at home if you're able to. I want you to get a chair and stand behind your chair, put your hands on the back of the chair so that your balance is good. And what I'd like you to do is practice this. Fold your arms like this. And I want you to lift your right or left leg just a little bit to see how good your balance is. Now, if you wobble, put your hands on the chair and you'll be quite safe, okay? So let's see how long you could do it, maybe 10 or 15 seconds, or maybe some of you can go longer. Perfect. Then you shift over to your other leg and you do that. Folks, one of the worst and fearful things that seniors have to face is the fear of falling down. That's why you have to have good balance. So keep that in mind when you are starting your exercise program. Okay. I'd like to show you a picture of the brain right now. This is an animated picture. It's not a real person yet. You can see that the brain is inside the skull. The skull is very hard, but the brain isn't. All right. This is what I'd like you to do. Can you please take your 2 hands and put them tight together like this? And that will be the size of your brain right now in your head. Right there. Now, if you open them up, you have 2 sides of the brain. They're called hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And when they close together, they're locked in like Lego blocks. And these Lego blocks represent what's called the wall or the corpus callosum. We just call it the wall. And on your diagram, you can see that yellow mark in the middle of the brain there. That's the wall. That's really, really important for the wall because it is communication between both sides of the brain. The right brain must talk to the left brain must talk to the right brain because they have different functions. So very important that we keep this wall healthy. So people ask me over the years, are bigger brains better than smaller brains? And this is the answer. Let your hands go, and I want you to pinch your ears. When you pinch your ears, you're able to listen better. Okay, I want you to say after me, what really counts is the weight. All seniors need to own a 3-pound brain. 3 pounds, that's what you need to own, okay? So let's review. Your brain is very, very soft and it should weigh 3 pounds. So I want you to take your pens and write on your page, soft 3-pounder. Okay, so if you're brushing your teeth tonight and you have toothpaste and you squish your toothpaste, that's like the consistency of your brain. Have you ever touched soft tofu? It mushes. Or custard. So your brain is very, very soft, okay? Now you can see this nice picture here. This is a picture of the brain from the rear. You can see the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. This is at the back. And the little wall in between is in that dividing line, and that's the communication. Now, here's a problem, you see. As you age, this wall can shrink. And basically, we know from all the research that the wall shrinks after age 30 in men, much quicker than in women, as you ladies already know. So how do you maintain that wall? Through your exercise program. Very, very important that you keep your exercise program in line and going every day. How much do you need to exercise? Well, everyone's different, but certainly about 20 or 25 minutes a day is adequate for a senior. I mean, you don't have to be walking. You could be doing any kind of activity as long as you're moving and the brain is engaged. That's very, very important. Okay. What do brain cells look like? Well, they look like trees. That's how I'm able to teach even youngest kids, little 3 and 4-year-olds. Brain cells look like trees. And if I was to give you a sketch and ask you this, which cell do you want? This one? Yes, I think it's good now to take your pens and just draw this little tree. Just take a moment, make a little sketch and draw that tree as you see it on the screen. Okay, so now what you see here is it's an analogy of a tree. There's a lot of branches, and the branches are taking information into the center of the brain cell, which is called a neuron, and that's the black dot there in the middle, and information goes in there constantly. Brain is always picking up information, and then that information is transferred down the tree trunk, which is like a telephone line. That is called the axon, and that telephone line sends messages, chemical messages down. At the bottom of the tree trunk, you can see that the roots have split off and there are little gaps. They're not shown on the picture, but there are little gaps there. They're called synapses. Perhaps you've heard this word, synapse. And this is where the chemicals drop down to talk to the next neuron, which is right underneath it. Brain cells talk via chemistry. They're called neurotransmitters. You have about 100 of them, and these run your brain, okay? So now that's a really healthy looking adult neuron. As time goes on though, sometimes people experience this. You can see that this next phase of life is that the neuron is beginning to degenerate. You see that there are fewer branches. The tree trunk is getting skinnier, which means transmission between the cells is getting slower, and also there's a lot more interference. And of course, whoa, there are hardly any roots in there. So I've been working with seniors for so long now, and it's always interesting when they tell me things like, well, it's too late for me, and I can't get any better, and this is not true. If you can realize and recognize your state of life and the condition of your brain, you can go back to the first one. You can go back. That is awesome news. Okay, you can recover your brain, because remember when we started the workshop, it's like neurogenesis, growing new cells in the hippocampus, and plasticity. The brain can change. And who's in charge of that? You are. You and you alone are in charge of your brain. So that's good news if we can actually embrace this whole plasticity idea and change things, because none of us want to get to this stage. This is Alzheimer's disease, and you can see the brain is severely depleted. The branching is very, very little. The communication line, the tree trunk is very thin, etc. We know now that this is not recoverable. You cannot recover from this. So everything that I'll be teaching you in these workshops in this series is about prevention. Let's not go there, okay? Let's not go there at all. So, Alzheimer's Society. Every year, they put out a fact sheet. Here's 2019. They didn't put one out last year. Already, there are 560,000 Canadian families living with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. That's a lot of people. But I have fantastic news for you today, because we have to avoid this. This is the Alzheimer's Society prediction. Over the next 20 years, there's going to be 1.2 million Canadians having Alzheimer's disease. Now, that means that every single Canadian will be involved in caregiving, whether you're actually looking after someone or someone that you know in your family, or you're going to be paying through the tax system for a medical system. But here's the good news. I have had people over the years tell me over and over again, Grandma died of Alzheimer's and I know I'm going to get it. Uncle Harry has Alzheimer's and I know I'm going to get it. And I have told people over and over again, this is not true. Alzheimer's disease is not genetically inherited. The gene, it's called APOE3, is very, very, very rare in people. And those even with that gene aren't susceptible to it. So you must live with this reality that in Canada, the Alzheimer's Society states about 2 or 3% of all Canadians, or almost 39 million of us, are susceptible to this disease. Only 2 or 3%. In the United States, it's only 1%. They really are downplaying this. So what is going on? Simple. You and your lifestyle. Okay, that's what counts. So it is your lifestyle that is determining your future today. Okay, so what are we going to do? What can we do? We have to grow dendrites. Could you folks please write that word dendrites down? This is very important, and I'm going to show you them, and then I'll put you back to work. Okay, dendrites. Here they are here. They're called connectors. The synapses and the dendrites are all called connectors, and that just means they link everything up and communicate. You can see the cell here, and all of those little spidery, webby looking things are dendrites. Folks, that's what you have to grow in order to stay young and vital in the brain. I want you to take your pens, please, go back to your tree, and I want you to add 20 more dendrites to your tree. Go. Now, isn't your tree looking a bit better? Yes, some of you are saying, yes, that's perfect. My hostess says, that's perfect. Okay. At the same time, while you have your pen in hand, I want you to make your tree trunk thicker. Now, the tree trunk is like an electrical line, and that thick part that you're putting on there right now is white fat, and it's like the covering on electrical wire. So you make that thicker, and then let's put a whole bunch more synapses at the bottom, a whole bunch more roots. And now we have improved our brain greatly. And now we are experiencing plasticity. We're changing our brains. Okay, so now I don't want you to go out of the first workshop here with thin, emaciated neurons. All right, so now I need to tell you about another part of your brain, really important part. It's called your captain. At least I call it the captain. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to take your 2 fingers like this and you put them on your forehead right here. And I want you to say after me, this is where I think. This is my logic and my reasoner and my planner and my captain of the ship right here. Oh my goodness, here's the captain. Now, kids always tell me, oh, it's green, I've got a green brain. No, you don't. This is just a model. This is just a model to show you that that's the area of the brain. So 2 things I'd like to tell you about your captain. The real name of it is the prefrontal cortex. That's the big name. But for most folks, this is the captain. What does the captain do? Drives the ship. Okay. Your captain, watch my fingers, your captain is only the thickness of 3 dimes. Okay. Very thin, stuck onto the front of your brain. And this piece here is about the size of 5 Kraft cheese slices stuck on the front. That's it. Now, folks, this captain is new in evolution. This is the most evolved part of your brain. Animals don't have it, although some animals have a more evolved prefrontal cortex, but this is the most important part of your brain, you see, because nothing, you can't explain or describe anything that you do that doesn't require your captain. You need a captain. Where does the damage happen in the brain when you start to degenerate? Right here, watch this. Quickly show you. When you're born, that's it. And as you get older, and there. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. Your captain. So let me review this for you. Prefrontal cortex, that's your thinker. That's your decision maker. That's your judgment. Planner, paying attention, able to pay attention and focus. Impulse control, very important, done right in the front of your brain, and that's your builder, creator, worker. Okay, so I don't want to teach you anything more today. We've learned basically that you have a 3-pounder and that you have a hippocampus in there that records memory, and you have a captain that runs the show, okay? That's what we want to do. So, like any good teacher, I have to supply you with some homework, and this is going to be the homework. We're going to practice some brain gym. What the heck is brain gym? Brain gym is applied kinesiology. I've been doing this for years and years and years with people. Very few people object to this. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So what I'm going to do is ask you to understand when you do this, your brain improves. Okay, so when I do brain gym, electrochemical energy goes across both sides of my brain, and my brain is more alert, more focused, more awake. So this is what we're going to do. You just take your 2 hands like on your lap, and you take your right hand and you reach over and you tap your left shoulder, and your hand goes down. And you tap your other shoulder and your hand goes down. Tap, 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 tap. Right now, we're working with your brain, and it's becoming more alive and more awake. Okay, you do this anytime, any place, anywhere, just like this. Tap, tap, tapping the shoulders. A second one, these are called crossovers. The second one is to take your right hand, you touch your bottom elbow, tap, 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 tap. And while you're doing this, here's the other huge benefit. When I do brain gym, I am producing brain-derived neurotrophic factor in my brain. BDNF has been produced in my brain as I do these little exercises. Here's one more. I want you to just tap over on your opposite leg. I wonder if you could hear this on the screen, just like this. And these exercises are making you more youthful. Your hippocampus is growing better because you're getting VDF in there. And folks, that's how you stay young. So that's our first workshop on brain longevity. I hope you practice brain gym tonight 2 or 3 times. And I will see you tomorrow for our next session. In the meantime, enjoy your brain.